And we're live. I want to welcome everybody back to the Hump-Day Hockey Podcast. Tonight, with me as always, is Brittany, Pens Pats, and tonight's special guest is Josh, Xanadu the Immortal. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for
How's it
being here.
going?
Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess Josh is
Again.
like the official backup for podcast that Brittany is in.
You
Yeah?
guys have been on the podcast together with the That's After Hour, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Uh,
sweet. Well, unfortunately, Ryan couldn't be here tonight, so I appreciate you filling in, Josh.
Not a problem.
Tonight, we're going to be discussing, obviously, last night and tonight's games. And then we're going to be previewing Eastern Conference Final, and we aren't going to get around to the West. We might be able to get around to it, but I don't think the Ducks are going to be able to dominate this game enough to where we can clinch that out quite yet. And then we're just going to be discussing a couple other things, World Championships going on, and just pretty much anything else you guys want to ask us about for anybody that's listening. So I know that we'll get right on to Brittany's favorite subject, which is last night's Rangers and Pens game.
Oh gosh.
How about you start us off on that one, since it's near and dear to you?
Well, does anyone have any comments before I rant for 20 minutes?
Um,
No, go for it.
yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't get to watch Game 5 because I was at Indiana, Pennsylvania, which, yes, that exists, because my sister was walking for graduation. And my family hates hockey. I'm the only one who likes it, so I wasn't allowed to watch the game. I caught like glimpses of it at a bar when picking up food, and the parts that I saw were atrocious. Like the Pens just played so bad. I couldn't like explain how it was, but it was bad. Like defensive meltdowns. Like I walked in and it was 2-1, and I walked out and it was 4-1. It was just like it was so bad. And then Game 6, I don't really remember
Drinking that
because
much, huh?
Yeah.
no, it was like Mother's Day at my boyfriend's house, and like his family made dinner, and we were like chit chatting during the game, and I also fell asleep because I was so exhausted. But like Game 7, I watched all of it, and I was just like, by the end of the game, I was just sitting there like, we're doing it again. It's again. Like it felt just like the Montreal season. Like well, not Montreal, when we lost to Tampa Bay, which apparently we really like to lose in Game Sevens at home to Dominic Moore's team. It's the third time it's happened.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it happened when we lost to your Lightning in
You're welcome.
2011. I think it happened against Montreal in 2010, and then it happened this year. But after the game, like on the Penguin subreddit, people were just talking about firing Bilesma, firing Ray Shero, firing all of the coaching staff, trading Crosby, trading Malkin, trading James Neal, buying out Fleury and Scuderi. It was just like, oh my god, you people are so dumb. Some of these things have merit, but trading Crosby and Malkin, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
But
the core of your offense right there. I don't see why in the world anybody would think that.
yeah. But like, I don't think the Penguins played that bad of a game in Game 7. They had so many shots. They were peppering Lundqvist with shots. They had so many scoring chances. It's just their defense outplayed our offense, and their goalie is a Game 7 wizard. It's, it's hard to beat Henrik Lundqvist when Henrik Lundqvist is on. When he's on, he's the best goaltender in the world.
Cool.
Um, but I think that the Penguins need to do something now. This is the 5th year that we have had a losing to a lower seed, and just we aren't living up to expectations. when you have a roster this talented, you should win the cup. Or at least you should make the Stanley Cup Finals. You shouldn't be swept in the Eastern Conference Finals by a Boston team. You shouldn't be embarrassed by a Philadelphia team and just get frustrated to the point that you can't score anything. And you shouldn't be giving up 3-1 leads in the playoffs, like in a series, to the Rangers. We just, like, Bilesma didn't adjust his coaching like he should have. He didn't realize, oh, hey, Scuderi and Bortuzzo suck together. Why don't we switch up the pairings and do Scuderi and Letang, who were doing well earlier in the year? Why not switch up the lines? Sutter and Crosby did well together on the power play or sometime. I know they played well together. I remember seeing it. Why not throw that together? Not like throwing out random pairings. Like I think at one point he had Marcel Gotch, Jussi Jokinen, and Brandon Sutter on the same line. They're all centers. Like, what the hell, Dan Bilesma? It's just, he can't close out on big games. Like, you saw that in the Olympics, and we've seen it these past few years in the playoffs. It's like, he can't win in the playoffs, and with the roster this talented, you know, we've been giving him excuses, and I think excuses are, I'm done giving him excuses.
So what do you think needs to change for the Pens? Like, I mean, you feel like they need to get a new coach, but
I think
there has to be more to it than that.
I think we need to go back to the Stahl era where we had 3 good centers. Like, we're too top heavy. We have 2 first lines and then 2 fourth lines. We can't be doing that anymore. We need a solid third line center. Like, Brandon Sutter has been all right for us, but I think what we need Ryan Kessler. I know he wants to leave Vancouver, and I know he'd like to play in Pittsburgh. And I know that there was an offer. Mike Gillis was offering Ryan Kessler for Brandon Sutter, Oli Mata, and a first. And that's not happening. Oli Mata is our best defensive prospect. He is phenomenal. Like, I've heard him in the same conversation as Nicholas Lidstrom. I'm not even kidding. Like, this kid is going to be a superstar. We're not going to trade him.
That's a little bit ballsy.
Yeah.
Nobody's Nicholas Lidstrom except for Bobby Orr.
I know. Well, I've heard he has that kind of potential. Like, I've heard that from like multiple sources, not just like fans, just like, you know, sucking Oli Mata's dick. Like, it is like actual people, like prospect.
We'll believe that when we see that, because I heard that about Doughty. I heard that about Carlson. You know, you hear it about a lot of people. So
Yeah, I don't know, but like he's done really well for a 19-year-old. But
oh yeah, for sure.
I think that we need to trade either Brandon Sutter or James Neal. I think James Neal has made himself like kind of expendable. Like, he is a hothead. He takes stupid penalties at times that we don't need penalties. And I think we could get a good price for him because he's one of those players that will show up during the regular season if you need a push to the playoffs. And teams like, I don't know, Winnipeg, Vancouver, need something like that right now. And since Kessler wants to leave Vancouver, you could trade like James Neal and like a third for Ryan Kessler, and that'd be a pretty fair trade. Or
Well, I mean, that depends on if Vancouver needs a winger instead of a center, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if Vancouver's going full rebuild, why would they go after a veteran? So
I mean, Brandon Sutter's only like 25.
that's true.
He's like really young.
Well, I mean, that's not that young. He hasn't developed by the time he's 25. I don't know how much more developing he's gonna do.
Yeah. Wait, are we talking? I'm thinking of wait, James Neal's like 25 and Brandon Sutter's still pretty young too. Like I've heard like they want Brandon Sutter. So we could do Brandon Sutter and like someone like Simone Dupre or Brian Dumoulin or like we have a
You said that so
multitude.
American.
What?
Simone Dupuis,
Simone Dupre.
not Dupre.
Yeah, no, there is one of my coworkers at my like co-op kept on calling him Dupuis. And I'm like, no, stop. You know. He called him
Dupuis.
Simon Dupuis.
It's Dupuis.
No,
It's
no, not
French Canadian.
it's not Pascal Dupuis, it's Simone Dupre. It's
Oh, okay.
Despres. Yeah. No, but he called him Simon Dupuis, and I'm just like, no, you're wrong. Like, where are you getting that? But I think we could trade, like, we could make some deals with Vancouver. Well, I mean, I guess we could make one deal with Vancouver to get Ryan Kessler. But, like, I don't see that as impossible. But I also think that we need to fire Dan Bilesma. Like,
So who do you go after at coach then?
I think my first choice would be promote Jacques Martin up to head coach.
Oh, that's interesting. That's the first time I've heard somebody mention that.
I know because everyone else is stupid.
I mean, to be fair, who else could you hire? John Tortorella?
Well,
Barry
there's Barry
Trotz.
Trotz, and I mean,
There's
there's other guys that you can hire, but I think that a lot of people have been talking about Barry Trotz right now.
Yeah, everyone keeps on talking about Barry Trotz, but the thing is, like, Barry Trotz, wouldn't be a bad choice because he's really good at developing defensemen, which we have a lot of. But he hasn't been really tested in the playoffs. I mean, Jacques Martin, he was the coach of the Devils, right? When the Devils were good, or am I thinking of somebody else?
He used to coach Montreal.
Okay, well that makes sense. He's French Canadian. Um, so like he has a coaching pedigree, and everyone's like set on Barry Trotz, but they don't realize that we have Jacques Martin. Another choice that I've been seeing was oh, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. He's Wilkes-Barre's head coach.
Not sure.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I'm
The
googling it.
Wilkes-Barre Penguins?
Yeah.
Well, while you look that up, Josh, what did you think about the Rangers' performance?
I thought they played very well. As Britt said, Heinrich was on top of his game, which was absolutely beautiful to see. I'm not going to lie. As for the offense, I mean, it could have done better, but the main thing that led to the Rangers' defense was which defense was worse, in my opinion. So the Rangers kind of went out there. Of course, the big topic for me as a Lightning fan was that since the Rangers got to the Eastern Conference Finals, Tampa now gets a first-round pick in this year's draft, which means that we can hopefully draft a solid defenseman, which, God, do we need some.
Oh, you definitely needed some like prospects.
Well, this is a pretty weak draft class, according to a lot of people. And now that you have additional first-round picks in the next two drafts, do you think you might just end up shopping that, or would it be better? I mean, you guys have a pretty decent farm club, correct?
We have Syracuse, which
Well, you before you were the Admirals, right? A couple years ago when they dominated.
Oh yeah, they were insane.
Maybe I'm thinking of the Sound Tigers. When they had a 27-game win streak, that was the Tampa Bay Farm Club, but then they switched over to somebody else, correct?
yeah, we're currently
Yeah.
Syracuse now.
Yeah, so you guys switched to Syracuse, but a couple seasons ago, your farm club was destroying people, and obviously you brought in Johnson and who's
A
the
lot.
other young guy?
A lot. The
Yeah.
two Calder finalists,
Correct.
who,
So,
as much as I want to win, are probably going to end up losing to Nathan McKinnon. If we
Yes.
could win, though, my God, I would be so happy. almost
Am
as
I the only one
happy.
who thought it was strange that they had two players from the same club
No,
up
have you
for
seen their
the tournament?
performance?
No, because they were both ridiculously good this year.
Okay.
Yes.
I
They,
was just like, hey, spread the love around. Nominate a defenseman.
oh no, they
Well, there
honestly
were
didn't
no
deserve.
good
They
defense.
helped.
I
Those
mean,
two helped carry our team.
Yeah.
yeah, and besides Olimata, there and he faded down the stretch. He was admittedly tired from playing a longer schedule than he's ever played before, but
Yeah, definitely.
Oh
still,
yeah,
he didn't play a full 82 games the way a guy like McKinnon or Johnson did.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like our farming system is good, especially for offense. I mean, we're getting Druin next year, which makes me so happy. I mean, it's been like he's shopping for houses in Tampa, and
Oh, that's so cute.
I'm I'm internally screaming like a girl right now because I am just imagining the highlight reels of what him and Stamkos are going to do together, and it is beautiful.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
But
Especially since you guys got lost, his partner in crime, St. Louis.
yes, which I will admit, I I'm still kind of salty, but I'm happy for the little guy now.
Do you
So
think though that Druin and Stamkos both play center, so they're probably not
mm,
going to be on the same line, are they? Unless they decide to put him on the wing for Stamkos until he develops a little bit more in the NHL.
that's always a possibility. I mean, they could also have pairings with Johnson and Palat. I mean, we have so much depth in offense that it is ridiculous. But as I've been saying, our weak spot is defense, and that's really where we need to go because we just have none of it. And I'm sick and tired of that. Because basically, we have Victor Hedman, who is absolutely amazing. We have Sammy Salo, who has glass bones. Um, there is Radko Gudas, whose beard is so impressive, but the poor guy is almost like a traffic cone. And then there's, of course, Matt fucking Carl, who is a traffic cone sometimes.
You should
And
just dress him in orange like he was in Philly.
it's just so frustrating to watch. And I really want to get some solid defense on this team.
For sure. Well, moving on to the other series last night. Chicago eliminated the Wild in 6 games. Obviously, that went to
Yes.
overtime, and Patrick Kane scored the game winner off a funky bounce from the boards on a clear-in, and I think it was Matt Cook that pretty much just let him fly by.
Oh yeah.
But that's
No.
the fourth overtime game winner for Kane now as a professional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of really good at that.
Yeah.
He's
He
pretty clutch.
he is the most clutch person in the entire NHL. Well, forward wise, skater rather.
I think it's hard to deny that with his overtime performance. But I'd like to throw another name out there, just as a homer pick, which is Justin Williams, who in 5 Game 7s that he's played in has 4 goals and 10 points.
Wow.
That is
So he's
impressive.
always been known to be a clutch performer there. I know that Simon Gagne, who I don't think's playing now, was pretty clutch back on Philly as well. As far as goalies go, we got a couple people shouting out Carey Price on Twitter and Patrick Waugh all time. Yes, I will say Patrick Waugh is
All
pretty much the
time.
most clutch goaltender of all time.
All time, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say clutch goaltender for me, at least in recent events, would probably be Lundqvist. Just
If I
watching how he played against Pittsburgh, when he's on fire, it is just ridiculous.
Well, the stat that I saw was in his, I think he's won his last 5 Game 7s or something like that.
Yeah, and his
So
save percentage is like a 970 or something like that. It's like stupid good.
yeah, there's a reason why his nickname is King Heinrich.
Yeah, like if you had to put a gun to my head and say pick a goalie to goaltend for one game or you're gonna die, I'd pick Henrik Lundqvist.
Oh God, yes.
We've seen a couple other good performances in that Chicago from series from their goaltenders as well. Briz, Goloff, and Crawford both played pretty well. I think Briz Goloff played above a level that people thought he would.
Oh yes.
I
I
was
Crawford,
mean,
hoping
down
for
for the
him.
second year in a row, has been really good in the playoffs for Chicago. And I think a lot of people were curious about why they signed him to that huge contract. And I don't know that I would still have given him $6 million a year based
yeah,
on
that
his
was.
regular season performances. But and if he comes to play in the playoffs like this every year, then it's definitely worth it for them.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I think that there are like a few types of goalies, but like Marc-Andre Fleury is one of those really good regular season goalies, and then not a great playoff goalie. But which like you don't really want if you're Pittsburgh. You need someone who performs well in the playoffs. You need like someone like Corey Crawford. Like our team can carry us in the regular season,
Oh yeah,
but like we need a better goaltending solution.
yeah, and I think Tampa has definitely found that in Ben Bishop. If we didn't
Oh yeah.
like him so much, I mean, the poor guy had to get surgery, and that was just ridiculous. But I think he will definitely come through for us in these next few years, at least in the playoffs. So, but yeah, I think Lundqvist best clutch goalie there is, but Briz and Crawford both have my backups for second and third because Briz just absolutely blew my mind, especially last night.
I don't know about going that far because I think that
He did
even though he's
fantastically, in
had
my
some
opinion.
struggles this year, the last couple years, Jonathan Quick's been pretty clutch in elimination games too.
Yeah, I was my
Also, I mean, Tuukka Rask had a great year last year. He didn't play badly necessarily this year either, but he didn't
Oh
have that
no,
clutch factor that obviously Lundqvist has had this year. And Rask was better last year than this year.
yeah, my
yeah,
backups for Henrik Lundqvist and clutch goaltending would probably be Jonathan Quick and Tuukka Rask. I'd also throw Pekka Rinne into that mix.
Really?
Yeah, I
really.
just I just really like Pekka Rinne. It may be that he looks like Neil Patrick Harris, but I don't know. There's something I just like
I
him.
don't know if you can say that after this year. I mean,
I mean, he's been
you
hurt.
lose four straight. Well, still, I mean, I don't know. He doesn't have enough playoff experience to say that. So
Yeah, I mean, I just like him in the regular season. Like, I think he's a pretty good goaltender, and if Nashville was good enough, I think he'd be a wonderful goaltender in the playoffs. But that's just me. I could be totally wrung. I
well, we'll have
also
to
just
see
really
when
like.
Nashville makes the playoffs again because right now I don't see them making the playoffs for a couple more years.
No, they need to rebuild.
Yeah. Well,
But
they got a coach to do it, and they got some assets to do it, and they still have the defense and goaltending to do it. So you
yeah,
never know. But the West is so competitive, and there's less.
that
There's
division, that
only
division is scary.
yeah, that division's ridiculous. 5 teams made the playoffs this year. It's
God.
not going to get any easier, and I don't see any of those 5 teams necessarily getting worse next year, except maybe Chicago if they lose some people, and St. Louis
Uh,
possibly. But still, they have such depth on both of those two teams. Colorado is just going to get better because they're so young, and same with Dallas. Although Dallas's lack of defense might mean they slip out of the playoffs again last year, but
Yeah, and their goaltending's getting old too.
letting
But they do have Jack Campbell coming up.
yeah.
rude.
So there's that. But the Wild, I think the Wild are on an upswing. I think they're only going to get better.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean
That,
this season kind of proved that their system's starting to work. The system that Yao has put in place. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a couple of seasons a lot of the time, and you saw it start working in the playoffs this year, and playoffs is where it matters. So they still need
Yeah.
a little bit more depth, but they're definitely, in my opinion, going to be better next year too.
With talking about how it takes a couple of seasons for a system to set in, that's what really, really stumped me about Vancouver firing Tortorella. Like, he's only been there for a year. Like, I don't know. Am I the only one who thought that was a little weird of a decision?
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, I think that was a desperation hire to begin with
I guess.
because Mike Nonis wanted to save his job. Now they got new management coming in. They're cleaning house. I'm not that surprised that everybody got let go. I was
Yeah.
surprised that they brought in a coach with that kind of system for that team. So I don't necessarily think that John Tortorella is a bad coach. I just think that was a bad situation for him to be in, especially with a GM that wasn't that good at what he was doing there. And they
Okay.
also just don't have anybody in their developmental system, and they haven't been producing players in the draft. So that whole thing needs to be cleaned out and redone, and they probably need to do a rebuild. They're probably going to get rid of Kessler, and the Sedins don't want to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually agree to get moved for something if they want to win in the next couple of years and still have value.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the things that you just said kind of applies for Pittsburgh. Like, we have puck moving defensemen in our prospect pool out the wazoo, but we don't have like any forwards. Ray Shero can't draft a forward to save his fucking life.
No.
Like, it's so bad. Like, he's good at drafting defensemen, I'll give him that. But our forward pool is like Bo Bennett, I think, is the correct me if I'm wrong, but I think him and Gibbons are the only two Shero draft picks. Unless Gibbons was a free agent pickup.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But I know that they never should have fired Craig Patrick. And I'm glad to see that Buffalo picked him up because he's a developer.
yeah.
Which Buffalo, my God,
Yeah,
they're going to be
they're
terrifying.
going to be ridiculous in a few years if they draft well.
Oh
Oh
God.
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
moving
yeah.
on to tonight's games. We got Boston and Montreal, which wrapped up. Montreal winning that game 7, 3-1 in Boston. Was this, so far, in your opinion, or at least in my opinion, I should say, was the best series of the playoffs so far?
Yes.
Just
Oh,
drama, skill. Obviously the media hyped it up ridiculously, justifiably maybe, but what did you guys think about Montreal being able to go in and win that Game 7? What does that say about Boston right now? Are they getting old, or was it just a bad game? Obviously, Claude Julien has led them to a Stanley Cup, and then last year they lost in the finals, but they obviously have a great core. They still have one of the best defensemen. They have Bergeron's one of the best centers, and they have one of the best goalies. But they still, a lot of people have always said they have four, second lines, or some people said four third lines. They don't necessarily have. They brought in a Ginla who was great this year with 30 goals, but aside from him, they don't have that sniper that can score you a goal whenever you need it. And if he's getting older, what are they going to do next?
I really don't know.
All
I
right then.
think that
Yeah, I'm
tonight,
trying to think. I don't know. I mean, they traded for Louis Eriksson to fill some of those holes at forward. I mean,
Well, I felt like the Louis Eriksson thing was they needed to get something in return for Sagan, and Sagan was a better prospect than Louis Eriksson, even though Louis Eriksson's good. But yeah, he performed all right in Dallas, but he's still not that top-level sniper that a team needs sometimes. A guy like Patrick Kane, that can,
well, I mean, not it's hard to beat Patrick Kane.
of course,
Like,
but they haven't necessarily needed somebody like that before, but right now they obviously weren't able to put up goals when it mattered the last couple games. They scored one goal in the last two games. Obviously their offense wasn't getting it done, so did Montreal just figure them out? Or is it? I mean, Boston had a decent offense during the regular season, but they're always been built for defense. So
Well, I think that one of the major things is that while Boston manages to get under everybody else's skin, Montreal was able to get under their skin and just tear them apart with that. So, I mean, they just managed to take them apart defensively, offensively, and I mean, there wasn't really anything that they could do about it.
what was that, Josh? You like faded out right there.
Well, really? Sorry. That's odd. But what I was saying was that Montreal is able to get under Boston's skin, kind of the way that Philly does with Pittsburgh, and what Boston does with everyone else.
Yeah.
So I mean, Boston kind of managed to come back with that last game, kind of, but they just weren't able to capitalize on anything. And I think that's honestly what Montreal's been doing with everyone else, like especially with Tampa sweeping us. I mean, they just piss me the hell off. I won't lie, and they're good at it.
They've definitely been good, and I liked what PK Subban was doing, where he was pissing them off, but not in a way that would affect his team's morale, and just inciting them to where they were going to go out and try to do something to him or to the other players instead of playing the game. So I completely agree with you. Montreal was able to play them better, just smarter, because they didn't have as much talent. No offense to Montreal, they have a lot of obviously talented players, but they didn't have as good of a team on paper as Boston did. So they, outsmarted them and outplayed them.
Yes, they did.
Regarding tonight's other game, Kings and Ducks. Obviously, Ducks are leading 3-2 in that series. The Kings currently have a 1-0 lead at the end of the first period. Jake Muzzin scored a goal for us.
Fantastic tap-in, by the way.
Tackle?
Tap-in.
Tap-in, okay. Yeah, that was a great pass by Kopitar, too. Kopitar is leading the playoffs in scoring right now. Obviously, he's played a lot of games because they went to 7 the first round. But we need Kopitar to be scoring. He did not. He kind of fell off the last couple games, even though Gaborik continued to score last game. But if this does end up going 7, who do you guys pick for this one?
Who do I want to win, or who does win?
Well, obviously, if the Kings win tonight, they're winning right now, but that's only 1-goal game. They have slight, obviously. I don't even know if you could say in a series that goes 7 games that they have that much momentum when both teams have won in the other building twice, and it's a 7-game series where it's been so close. So, do you think, obviously John Gibson's been the big story, shutting them out and then winning again last night. But last game. But even last game, the Kings had 40-plus shots to the Ducks' 24. They just turned the puck over a lot defensively. So, do you think that there is any clear advantage, or who would you give to it in Game 7?
I honestly don't know that.
I definitely think it'd probably go to the team that gets lucky in overtime.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I mean, I want it to be the Ducks because now that Pittsburgh's out, I'm rooting for Timu to go on one last cup run. But, I don't know. I'd have to give it to the Kings because of Jonathan Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about how he's such a clutch player, and I think he's going to just come in on top of his game. And I hate that because I want Anaheim to win, because I think they'll be the easier team for Chicago.
Well, I know that nobody in California wanted to see Chicago win that either, so everybody's scared of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean,
Deservedly so as the defending champions. Anyway, quick look tonight at the scoreboard. Obviously, Boston winning losing 3-1. Kings are winning 1-0 right now. Scranton and Providence in the AHL are in double overtime right now, tied 4-4.
ooh.
And that is game 3 of that series. Right now, they've both won one game.
Well, Wilkesboro.
Grand Rapids beat Texas 3-2. So that series is tied up 2-2. And Toronto won in overtime against the Chicago Wolves. So right now that series is at 3-0 for Toronto. So at least one Toronto team's been doing well.
That's about all that they can do.
What's that?
That's the only Toronto team that seems to do well. Well, okay, the Argonauts, but
Hey, the Argonauts kick ass. Actually, I have no idea. I don't follow Canadian football. Although, you know that Ryan Getzlaf's brother plays Canadian football?
really,
I think I did know that.
Yeah, I forget which team he's on, but yeah, he's a Canadian football star, so athletic family right there. And he has hair, so he got a good part of it. Twitter, I've been asking some questions as far as who would you want as a goalie to win one game if you needed to, and I think people misunderstood the question because actually I know that they didn't, but they're just being silly. We have Rick DiPietro, of course, Robert Esch, Cyrone, of course.
of course.
We have Roman Checkmate, who,
Come on, people.
as a Kings fan, man, he was terrible. Seriously, though, somebody did say Carey Price, I think, so I could sort of see that.
Okay.
We have Devin Dubnyk. Thanks, Matt. Everybody wants him. And, yeah, a lot of non-answers, but I appreciate that. Also,
Yeah.
Ari says that Pittsburgh needs to get Bill Guerin back.
Apparently he's like in the organization still. I think he's either doing scout or he's like the head of player development in Wilkesboro. I don't know. I know he's with the Penguins, but I miss Billy G. He was awesome.
He was he's one of the better American players in the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, him and Mike McDonough.
Jeremy Bronick, of course. I think they were all on that 96 team that won the World Cup.
Probably.
I'm sure all of you guys remember 1996, just like me.
Dude, I was like 5.
I was like 3. How does that make you feel?
Oh, I always feel old on Reddit. You know, when I started on Reddit like 6 years ago, I was like, sweet, it's a whole bunch of guys that are all in their 20s. Like, we all, like, everybody kind of understood each other because we're all the same age and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, the longer you're on Reddit, the lower the age demographic goes. And,
Dude, there's a Habs fan that's a 12-year-old girl on Reddit. She's 12.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Wow, she has terrible taste.
Yeah, I think she's
I'm
like
kidding.
Habs fan 1314 or something like that. But like, it blew my mind when I found out she was fucking 12. I'm like, I wasn't allowed on the internet when I was 12.
Yeah.
God, what kind of prudish parents do you have?
Catholics.
I was joking, but that totally makes sense, I guess.
Oh, God.
I wasn't allowed to watch Rugrats at all. I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter until my priest said that he loved the Harry Potter books. Because my mom was like, "Oh, it's witchcraft," and I was like, "But it's like make believe. It's like Lord of the Rings. You know, you let your kids read it."
Jeez, that.
Yeah, my parents.
I grew up in the church too, and I had the same same problem.
Really?
Yeah, no, a lot of people weren't. I've never actually read the Harry Potter books just because I never got around to it. It's not that I couldn't, I just never did. But I did know a lot of parents that didn't let their kids read that kind of stuff either.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh my
I
God, they're
feel
like my favorite
privileged.
books.
I've never really understood that from a theological standpoint. But this isn't really a philosophy conversation that we normally have here.
No,
So
this would be reserved for after hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting a little bit back on track. Who right now is your Conn Smythe favorite?
Oh, don't do this to me. It's still too early, in my opinion.
I don't know. Patty Kane.
Yep, Patty's definitely one of the easy ones. Any one of the goaltenders.
Yeah, I would say either Patty Kane or Henrik Lundqvist. Like, I think this is one of those years where you just give it to a goalie.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Well,
losing
the
center.
goalies won 2 of the last 3 years. Obviously, Patrick Kane won last year, but you had Quick and Tim Thomas the years before.
Yeah. I mean, no one has
3 straight
played.
Americans. That's right.
I don't
All
know.
you
I mean,
Canadians out there.
we haven't had many lights out performances by anybody. I don't know.
I agree with you as far as through the course of this entire playoffs. I think that
you know, you,
I think that the only person that really was like each round has had somebody that's been lights out in a certain series. Like Lundqvist was lights out in this series, but wasn't necessarily that great in the Philly series. Uh, you have guys that have continued to score, like Kopitar or Parise, but Parise's out. Kopitar might be out right after tonight. So you have guys that are contributing in certain ways, but not necessarily dominating the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what people choose going forward. Obviously, if you had to pick somebody, maybe like a Ryan Getzloff, who's just been consistent all the way around, but it's been really close this year. Obviously, I'm picking Kopitar still, but that's only because I'm biased.
Overchoice. No, no, we're all
Ari
entitled.
wants to make it clear that she was joking, so we
what,
understand,
what,
Ari.
what was she joking about?
Um,
Having Carey Price be the one goalie to win it all for you.
I don't know. Carey Price isn't that bad. Or is she talking about Pavlik?
I didn't mention who said Pavlik, so
Oh, okay.
maybe she was talking about that one. I think she was joking on that one.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I misread that then. James says that the Conn Smythe just depends on who wins the cup, which is generally true. We haven't seen a losing player get that since 2003 with
Oh,
Jean-Sebastien Giguère
oh God,
for the
that
Ducks.
was the saddest human being.
Yes, that was very sad, but you know, before that, I think it was 1987 was the last time that we had that happen with Ron Hextall
Yeah.
against the Oilers. And every time you see that, it's sad for the losing player, but it's still obviously a show of respect for how well they performed.
Yeah.
always.
I think it would take almost. I mean, even though it's only been 11 years since we saw that happen, I think these days it would take almost a miracle to see that again.
I think
Because the
what
media hype train on stuff just, takes so much of people's attention on the players. Oh, Ari says she was joking about Bill Guerin.
Oh, why would you joke about that? Bill Guerin's awesome. We don't need him like as a player, but we can bring him back to the organization. I'd be okay with that. He's great. I love him.
Yeah, he's too old to play now.
Yeah, he's like older than Yager.
That's pretty old.
Possible.
Oh, we have a score alert.
Ooh,
Grand
ooh.
Rapids.
Oh.
Rapids.
Oh,
Texas.
that was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I already said that one. I meant the Scranton beat Providence in
Yes.
overtime. So
Ah.
the Bruins lost, and now the mini Bruins lost too.
LaCree is probably
Uh,
happy.
oh, no
She's
doubt.
from Wilkesboro. Well, she's from Scranton, I think.
Nice. Yeah, I'm rooting for Scranton, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really have much of a say now that Manchester's out. I just really
Yeah.
don't want Norfolk to win. So
They're from like an hour from my hometown.
Huh.
Yep.
I would be happy also to see Texas Stars win, just because Western team, I guess.
Yeah,
And Grand Rapids won last year, so I wouldn't mind
Eh,
seeing them get taken out.
that'd be nice.
understandable.
Also, who wants to root for the Red Wings?
Sireny?
Nobody. Um,
I guess Anderlecht too.
Uh,
Cyrone says Manny Legacy for goaltender. Ooh.
I mean, his last
Speaking
name
of
is Legacy.
Cyrone, let's
What?
see. Oh, he changed his name this week on Reddit.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's
I don't know if he
Oh, he's
wants to
saying
live in
Manny
your head.
Legacy for worst ever. Yeah, probably not on anybody's top list. We got the Habs and Rangers coming up next series. How do you guys see that one playing out?
Oh, well, it'll be like, Olympic finals all over again as far as goaltending.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So do you see it
So,
going the same way then, with Carey
God, I
Price
hope not.
winning?
I hope not.
I hate both those teams.
But I
Yeah, but
hate the
that doesn't matter
Rangers.
because you can hate a lot of teams, but who do you think's the better of those?
I feel, and I hate saying this, like Montreal will win.
I think I have the same feeling.
And I hate that. I hate it.
The overwhelming majority of people on Twitter that answered that question said Montreal as well. Pretty much everyone's
Okay.
picking Montreal. And
Probably
if
because
I
they're the
remember
hottest team.
correctly, though, let me see. Montreal this season, they finished with a better record, right?
I think so.
See, they had 100 points.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. So they're going to be the home team. So yeah, I would have to pick
Ooh,
them too
that's
then.
going to be really hard for New York then.
Yeah, Bell Center is a hard barn to play in.
Yes,
God, I was surprised that the Rangers won in it. Or no, not the Rangers. Boston won in it, period. I mean,
Yeah.
just.
I think
Uh,
that Montreal, even though New York's got, in my opinion, maybe better overall defense and goaltending, they just
goaltending is objective. That
yeah they don't. I don't think that they have the four lines that can roll with Montreal quite as well. Montreal is also a very fast team. I think that New York's getting off playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, although their skilled team, has never necessarily been known as a fast team. So I think it
Yeah.
played to their strength better because the Rangers didn't have to be as fast. And with Montreal, I'm thinking that their speed and their home ice advantage might end up killing New York.
Oh yeah. No, I think Montreal will be going to the Stanley Cup Finals against probably Chicago, and that is going to be such a good series.
Ugh.
Well, this would be the first, if that happens, if Montreal wins, this will be the first time since 2006, I believe, right? The Canadian teams made it.
Oh yeah.
Because Edmonton played Carolina that year.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that would obviously be exciting. I know a lot of Canadian fans would be rooting for them, even though they hate Montreal. But
But they got that Canadian pride thing going.
Yeah.
yeah, but the Canadians are like the Yankees in baseball. Everybody hates them. So
I know I
Yeah,
do.
but if they're in the World Series, you don't root for them. I don't know.
well, we got a few minutes here. You guys, I don't know if you've been following the World Championships or not, but today Switzerland beat Germany 3-2. Czech Republic shut out Italy 2-0. Yager scored again.
Well, I mean, it's Italy.
Yes, true.
They don't. I love the country. I love the language. It's a beautiful language. But I mean, come on.
Come on. I don't even think that there's an Italian hockey player in the league right now.
Is Luca Spizza? He's Italian. I
Is
think
he
his
actually
parents are from Italy, though.
Is he like American Italian or like Canadian Italian?
I think. Let me see. Oh, he's actually Swiss. Forget it.
Oh.
I was wrong.
They share a border. It's close enough,
It's
right?
totally close enough.
Yeah, it's totally close enough.
Russia beat Kazakhstan 7-2. Russia's been destroying this,
Oh god.
so
Yeah,
pretty
they're
much
gonna
they're the favorite right now. And Slovakia beat Norway 5-2, but I believe that game was actually closer than it appeared. Slovakia has been pretty much the most disappointing team in this tournament. I know that they lost to Czech Republic in overtime, but Czech dominated that game. So, yeah, after the first period, it was 2-2. So Norway at least gave them a little bit of trouble.
Slovakia played really badly at the Olympics, right?
Yeah, they've been pretty bad in the international play all year. So
Do you think they get relegated?
no, because they won this. There's no way they're going to get relegated with a win and an overtime loss.
I mean, like coming the next few years, like their Olympic performance was so bad. I don't know, like every Olympics, like a new team comes up and someone gets relegated. I forget who it was last year. Germany got relegated. And somebody else.
Maybe Austria. Austria did for sure.
Yeah,
Austria
Germany and
played
Austria.
in the Group B championship last week or whatnot. So
I don't know.
tomorrow, though, we have. Let's see. I know Canada's playing tomorrow. Whoa. Whoa, my screen's doing funky stuff. Canada is playing Denmark tomorrow. That should be an ass kicking. And the U.S. is playing Latvia, and Latvia is not too bad. So I think that game is actually going to be entertaining to watch because U.S. is a very young team, obviously. Finland, who's had a pretty disappointing tournament so far, not looking like Finland that won the bronze medal in the Olympics. They're playing Belarus, who's hosting this, so that should be a good game too. And then Sweden is playing the surprise team of the tournament, France, who obviously beat Canada. And I believe they actually won another game too, did they?
Yeah, I think.
Oh no, they went to over. Yeah, they had an overtime win as well. So yeah, France has been a little bit surprising with Cristobal Huet in goal, leading the way, and Stefan da Costa, who plays for Binghamton, leading them in scoring. So good for them.
I was just gonna make a no Hue joke.
Go for it.
Sometimes I hate myself. But yeah, that's really surprising that France is doing so well.
It is. I'm looking right now, and at France's roster, aside from Da Costa, who's playing obviously AHL, and Huey did play in the NHL. He was actually drafted by the Kings, so go Kings. They have Antoine Roussel, of course, from Dallas, but he's not exactly the most skilled player. And that's the only NHL guy they got. So,
Wow. That's crazy.
and to answer your question about Italy, they don't have a single... Well, I should take that back. They have Thomas Larkin, who plays for Springfield Falcons. That's pretty much their only guy from North America.
Huh.
They got a lot of guys playing over in Europe, so...
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'll be rooting for them just because I like to see the game grow in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always exciting.
I mean,
Like watching Slovenia win.
Oh.
Oh. That was...
I was rooting so hard for Latvia against Canada. in that game. Oh my god.
That would have been amazing.
Oh, their goaltender. He's what? He's a Lightning goaltender, isn't he?
Yes,
Yes,
he
he is.
is.
You
Oh
excited
god,
about that?
I am so excited about that. He played in the regular season and in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, because Ben Bishop was hurt.
God, that makes me cry. And like, apparently, quick sidetrack story. When Ben Bishop found out that he wasn't getting into the playoffs, well, that he wouldn't be able to play, like he almost just like went to Stamkos and just like cried, and like my heart broke when I found out about that. I think it was
Oh,
Ari that told me about that, and I'm just like, oh my god, my heart cannot handle this because I
oh,
love that man. He is such a good goaltender for us. But no, Krister Skudlevsky, he is going to be so promising, and I hope that we keep him in Syracuse next year just to have him develop a bit more.
mhm.
Um, I'm just curious as to what we'll be doing with our backup goaltending because I know a lot of fans aren't happy with Anders Lindback. So I'm kind of hoping that we'll steal Bernier, I think, was going out. Bernier or Reimer. One of the two Toronto goaltenders. It
Bernier's
should
not
be.
going anywhere.
Yeah, so I
Bernier's
think it,
already committed to Toronto pretty much, and Raymer's pretty much asked to leave. So
yeah, so I think it was Reimer then. Because I've always thought that he was a good goaltender, at least for backup wise. He's not just okay in my books, to put it in the terms of Randy Carlisle. But no, I'm really hoping that we'll fix up the secondary goaltender, the me of goaltending. So that's also one of the things that I'm looking at for next year. Goaltending and defense. Yay.
always good to have.
Hmm.
Well,
Yep.
we're about out of time, so just a couple things. Tomorrow, Britt's got the After Hour podcast. What time's that one at?
The midnight. Oh god, it's so hard to do. It's so late.
Am I going to be tagging in for you again?
Are
I
you
no, I need to do it. It's
okay? Are you going to be joining them on that one, Josh?
I have no idea. I'll be finding out tomorrow probably.
Okay.
yeah, he's our emergency backup goaltender for that. I think he subbed in for me, Ben, and APAD.
Yeah,
It's
actually.
always good to have a backup, and I appreciate you coming on tonight. By the way,
Not a problem. Happy to be on.
Friday, as far as I know, we're doing the D4 podcast again with myself and Abe Froman and Blinson and David Gamboa. So those are the only two podcasts I think we got coming up the rest of this week.
Yep.
And tomorrow, there are no games scheduled in the NHL. So
Oh, that
I
breaks my
don't know
heart.
what I'm going to do with myself, but I might as well, I might be crying depending on how this Kings game goes.
Oh man, I won't have an excuse to have a hangout now.
What's that?
I host the Google Plus Hangouts for the hockey games on the hockey Twitter. So, no, can I have an excuse to hold one of those?
Of course you can. There's always an excuse. We'll watch
Brilliant.
AHL together.
There we go.
Oh,
Or
actually, you
like
know what? I just realized if the Kings win this game, I will not be doing the D4 podcast because I will be going to Game 7.
Ooh,
oh, that's
lucky
exciting.
you.
Yeah, so let's hope for that. Like, not hope that I don't do D4, but hope that I don't do D4. So,
I'm
everybody
hoping
wants
for
more
it.
hockey, right? So, I know everybody's rooting for the Kings tonight.
Yeah, I guess I'm rooting for the Kings.
I guess.
Okay, fine. Anyway, you guys have a good night. I appreciate everybody that sent us questions and answers on Twitter. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful week. And I hope that the Kings win. And that is it for me. So if you guys have anything else, let me know.
No, I'm good.
No, just have a good week, everyone.
Yep.
All right, take care, guys.